Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Purdy. On this podcast, we're not just exploring the latest trends and technologies in the automotive industry, we're also getting real about the journey. Yes, the bumpy road of mistakes and lessons learned hard along the way.
This is the Gearbox Podcast.
So I think, do we have to start off this one with just yelling at David?
Probably should. I don't know if he probably, I don't think he listens.
He has to at least edit something.
No, Braxton, he's the man. He's been helping me out a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not, well, guess anybody else that knows David Roman, just know that he somehow lost the last recording, and I'm offended.
Yeah.
And
I've asked multiple times. Well, I had two at SEMA last year, or at Apex last year anyway. And because yours, and then I did Kyle after that, and I've just never heard from him. So I'm like, all right.
Dang.
That is a little offensive, isn't it? That was like our grand meeting, you know?
It was our grand meeting. It felt like, you know, my views, my experiences didn't carry any water, didn't have any value.
I could say.
And I felt like I was being actively canceled, and I did not appreciate it.
I would put triggered in that statement too.
Yep.
All that stuff.
So I tweeted about it, but nobody read the tweet.
Of course. Yeah.
Now I know I'm shadow banned, but also actually banned. So
I'm gonna make sure he makes you a participation trophy. I think that's what you need.
Yeah. I mean, you would get it. We both live in California, so
yeah. Like I need a little. Can you like at least tell me I did a good job? You know, give me a little scratchy, sniffy sticker, something, man. Like I did a really good job, and you're not appreciating who I am as a person. It's
in all of my uniqueness. But
yes.
Yeah.
You could probably throw something racial in there too, somehow. I don't know. We'll figure it out by the end of this thing.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, he was definitely profiling you in a racist fashion.
At least when I was on Changing the Industry podcast, they spelled my name right. But the Institute for the speaker series coming up at the summit next year spelled my name wrong.
Oh, nice.
So I think that was it was racist because they assumed that my last name is spelled the common way when it's not.
Mm.
And
can't assume, man.
It's just it was hurtful, and I know they did it intentionally. I 100% know that it was intentional, and Kent and Cecil just don't like me and want to see me fail. And
I heard that about them.
Yeah. That's why they selected me to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they know that a sick shop is a profitable shop, so they don't want to cure you. They just want to fix your ailments. It's like going to a doctor when he's like, every time you go there, you get a new medication, and then you're like, I feel better today, and then the next day you feel twice as bad. It's like, they come on back. Here, you want some more of those? They're on sale today.
You know what? This was okay. So I had to take my dog to the vet. When was it? 2 days ago. And at that appointment, I also had to schedule a dental cleaning for one of my older cats. I have a lot of pets with my wife. And they don't tell you how much you're paying up front. They only tell you on the back end. And it felt like, so my dog, the reason we brought him in, or the reason I had to bring him in this week, was it was a follow-up appointment to a second attempt to cure his allergic reaction that he seems to get, where he gets these very red, itchy rings around his eyes. And we brought him in 8 months ago or so for this issue. And they said, oh, he is allergic to gluten. Take him off gluten food and put him on gluten-free food. And we did. and it didn't really help initially, but then it cleared up after a couple weeks, and we went to the follow-up, and they said, oh, great, must have fixed it. And then the same issue came up 8 months later, and they said, oh, it's seasonal allergies. So they gave him a shot of antihistamine and sent him home with steroids, and it cleared up the red rings again. And went to the follow-up visit, and they said, okay, yeah, he's probably not allergic to gluten, actually. And it felt like a parts cannon. I was quite offended.
Yeah, there's the parts cannon, and then there's the, how do you do that in the automotive field with a repair, where you fix it just enough so they come back 6 months later and they're like, wow, the last time you like you tighten this hose clamp, but then you loosen one over there, right? Like there's you gotta wonder. It's like, are you come on, doc, you screwing with me here? What's going on?
Yeah, but it felt like a scam when they then said, oh, he's not allergic to gluten.
Yeah.
That's like saying, I don't know, you have a check engine light on for an evap issue, and your inexperienced or unskilled, repair shop says, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. You can drive without that. And it only comes on sometimes, so you don't worry about it that much. And then you bring it in
by the way,
time,
actually, it was a misfire, not an evap problem. My bad.
and now you need a catalytic converter, and now you're spending more than the price of your car to repair it. And that, it kind of felt like that. But also, it's the fact that we paid for 2 repairs on my dog.
Yeah.
And only one of them fixed the problem. Yeah. Supposedly, even in their own words. And yet somehow it makes sense that, we paid $2,000 for all that. And there's no, oh yeah, we'll roll the cost of the initial, failed repair into, yes, I'm saying repair, not treatment.
Right.
But
there's no give backsies there. It seems to be we're the only ones that have to deal with that kind of stuff.
I don't, it's the age old for people like us now comparison of other professional or industries to auto repair. And yeah, we are just absolutely scrutinized to the highest degree, which I think just makes us better, I guess, at, building customer experiences and customer expectations for the future that are at the highest possible standard, and then others will have to catch up. That's my positive spin on it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, if you have to meet those standards to survive every day, then there is no other option.
Yeah. We had this happened today. It was an interesting argument, I guess, that I got the chance to witness between the service advisor at one of my shops and the lead tech, who had just finished replacing a thermostat housing. And he's a little unconventional in the way that he will verify a coolant leak repair, and it is by hosing off the entire engine. And it probably needs to stop because it's a little too much water in the engine bay.
Yeah.
And he test drives it, and it evaporates off most of the water, and the rest of it runs off the bottom, but there's probably still some puddles in the engine bay. And then my advisor goes to move the car for final delivery, and it's trailing water across the parking lot, and he flips out at the technician about it.
I can see that.
But it was, unless the advisor knows to say, hey, we verified the repair, there's no coolant leaking, but we did use a fair amount of water to clean off the engine bay, and you may still see some water puddles, but they shouldn't have any smell, they won't stain. If you do find any staining puddles, then come back to us for something like that. That way you're positioning yourself to set customer expectations well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That goes such a long way.
Well, it just goes down to like procedures, right? So like that should be right, like a procedure's written down. So every coolant repair is going to adjoin with taking it to the car wash or going it out, putting it out back, or I don't know, wherever it is you want to do it, right? But the main thing is like, this is the steps we do. We're going to go ahead and pressure test the system. Then we're going to wash the system. Then we're going to get it hot. Then it's going to sit in the parking lot for 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20, whatever, right? and then it's going to be, the coolant level will be verified once it's like, whatever it is, it should be written down and everybody should know exactly how to do it, right? And I think that's
Right.
the only way you can really, because then you have a new advisor come in and that happens, right? They move the car and they're like freaking out, like, did you read the binder? Did you
Yeah.
read the Google Drive? Did you read what's written down? Like, and I think that eliminates a lot of that. Not eliminates, but it definitely, for the most part, help out that situation.
Yeah, I think part of that is tell me what your experience has been with this. Is my binder, which is on Google Drive, it's, I don't know, 10, 11 pages of sort of the overarching, this is what happens on every single car process. And that in and of itself is difficult to get full traction of acceptance on. And I as a result, take the sort of the issues like this thing that happened today as like, okay, that's your more memorable learning lesson than going with this SOP manual.
It's true.
Not to say we should just, roll with every mistake and adapt on it, but I guess, I haven't been in business all that long to learn from every single mistake there is to make. But every time we do, we implement something at least to be able to mitigate that same thing happening again.
Yeah, try to learn from it. And it's interesting you bring that up because one of the things that that you really interest me about is not having the tech background, right? And it's kind of, can I say unusual without triggering you?
Yes, you can say it pretty much anything without triggering me.
I'm just kidding.
I'll make that clear to everybody else, just in case.
There was a lot of sarcasm in the beginning of this, if anybody didn't pick up on that. So it's unusual because for the most part, a lot of owners are techs that think they can do shop ownership better, right, than who they're working for. And for the most part, they're probably right because the guy that they're working for probably also was a tech that thought he could do it better than, and on and on and on we go, right? And so it's interesting because you come with a completely different set of skills. And so for me, I can sit down, even though I don't, and I should do it more. I can take like repairs and I can go visualize it through my mind, and I can write down the procedure of how that repair needs to go to my standards, and I can give that out to somebody, right? I could take a transmission and do a disassembly procedure, right? Like I can take those things, and I think that helps a little bit, but also I think it's kind of a crutch for me because then I write these procedures and they end up being 15 pages long, right? And like no tech in their right mind is going to read that. So it's really hard to gain that, what do you call it? When they want to do it. It's hard to get them to actually want to do that when you have 15 pages of stuff they want to read. And I've tried the binder. I've got it on the Google Drive now. I've tried to keep it easy, start putting pictures. The pictures helps a little bit. I think the mistakes help a lot because then it's like, hey, that's written down, right? And then they go read it like, oh man, this is here the whole time. Like, yeah, you remember, right? Or having one technician be really, really bought into it, and then they know where everything is. So they're constantly going back and reading through it. And then everyone else is like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm reading the procedure. This thing's super helpful, and having a green tech that does that helps the senior guys because even though they won't admit it, they're like, it is, huh? And then all of a sudden you see them checking it out and you're like, yeah, man, I'm not trying to call you dumb. This is what's worked for me. And then I try to tell them, hey, and if you have something different that can help this process, let's add to it, right? And having their buy-in, I think that's what I was looking for. Having their buy-in helps, but I don't know. I have the same exact struggle that you're talking about. It's like, I don't know what else to do, but just like daily reinforcement.
Daily reinforcement. And so for me now, this was something that, I was always excited to face as a challenge of wanting to grow into being a multi-store operator is I need other people to do that reinforcement for me. And so my job isn't, going to the guy on the ground floor and making him torque wheels or lug nuts. It's telling the manager of the store to make sure that that's happening and holding them accountable to doing it. And that is what I am working through now, is just trying to kind of limit my intervention between levels. And, I can have relationships with everybody, absolutely. But every time I try to meddle in the middle of a relationship or of a process that's in progress, usually goes wrong.
That's, yeah. And see, and on my side, I'm just really taking that in because on my side, I feel like that's kind of where we kind of excel, right? Like the more I feel like I get in between the lines, I feel like a glue almost, where I can like pick up all the inefficiencies in between. And I'm probably 100% wrong in doing that, but looking at the numbers and seeing the flow and seeing the attitude and everything in the shop, it definitely seems like a lot of the problems that I watch if I stay divorced from the situation disappear, right? I'm like looking at this, I'm like, come on, man. It doesn't take that long to diagnose that problem. It doesn't take that long to like, so I step in, hey, do this, that, and the other thing, or having a difficult conversation or writing up a hard estimate or giving someone a quote without giving them a quote, right? Someone comes in, I need a transmission or a transfer case replaced. Well, they're spending an hour just to figure out what they even are saying. Like, what's a 5R110 transmission? Oh, that's going to be in the '06 to '09 Ford. You know what I mean? So I can step in like, oh, that transmission's in these trucks. Just look up, an '09 F350. That'll give you so that's where it's tough for me. It's like, how does somebody manage that situation without having my technical background? Like I just don't understand that at all.
That's where, so, from my perspective, as a really good customer of shops, that's all I was before I became a shop owner. I was also, management consultant to shops, but mostly I was a customer. And that's what inspired me to get into this. I look at it from that perspective and from the service advisor perspective more than I look at it from the tech perspective, which probably means that you may have way more rigorously documented process and standard operating procedures for the technical aspects of how your shop runs. I have, in those areas, probably a deficiency where my service advisor and customer experience angled documents and procedures and all that is super robust. Because for me, I have this flow chart of how a phone conversation or walk-in or whatever is supposed to go with regard to estimating. And I have the process down for once a car comes into the shop, what is the customer experience going to look like? What should the service advisor be looking at? And I've brought in my best techs to help me write the technical side of it, like how to do our DVIs. And, me and my master tech in my first shop sat in my office for about an hour and just wrote it out of, here's how he does it. You got to make sure when you go on your test drive that you roll up the windows, you turn the radio off, you turn the climate control off, because that's the only way that you might be able to hear vibrations or noises and squeaks and rattles that a customer might complain about or might be interested in fixing, or it might be a suggestion of some sort of suspension issue or, brake squeak or something like that. And that was something I would have never thought of because, I go on test drives occasionally for customer vehicles, but it's never this well thought out, meticulous process. It's just, I have a good eye for what's wrong with cars, I guess.
Yeah, you just drive it and see what shakes out. And obviously, I mean, you don't want to like dig in and there's coins rattling in the cup holder or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little overbearing. But I think that's probably the better direction of like, because that is probably a problem I have with the technicians is it's hard to find them, right? And then you don't want to hold them so much to to the fire that it's like you give them so many stringent confinements. They just need to be artists and do their thing, right? They just need to be free and open and all that free earth stuff, right? To an extent, right? And I think that's kind of missed too when it comes to like procedures, right? And I think maybe that's kind of a growing pain for me I'm having right now, because I do really focus on having procedures for the technicians in the shop. And we do have some good ones for the advisors as well. And Leanne, she's put up some really nice, she's really good with keeping that aspect, but we haven't spent so much time on that. And I think maybe pulling back a little bit off the technician side. Do you notice a lot of inefficiencies or problems with your technicians not having all those procedures in place?
So the way we have a process that is probably very similar to yours in terms of how every car runs through the shop, and it's gets checked in. We do inspection, and or if it's also there for some sort of diagnostic first. Basically, no tools required except for what would be required as part of diagnostic work. We're not doing any of the services. We're not doing any of the repairs, parts replacements that were requested as part of the initial drop off. We're only doing the inspection and diagnostic work so that we can get that done, send the job back to the advisor. We do an estimate. And that part of the process is where we probably have more deviation than I would like, because it so heavily influences the customer experience. If a tech takes photos, if a tech writes good notes, if a tech is doing a thorough inspection and it's consistent across technicians, that is what drives really strong customer experiences for us. And right now, I've got an issue where I have one guy whose average recommendations per ticket is like $1,200, and I have another one that's $3,000. And it's not just that the one that's pulling $3,000 a car is getting worse cars. He's just a little bit closer looking at everything in the inspections and pulling out things that the other guy is just like, it's not that bad, or that I didn't even look that close at it. Those kind of things.
The different shades of gray.
Yeah. But when it comes to the repairs itself, I do just trust the techs will do the repair the way they already know how to. And if they don't know how to, then they're going to be supervised by somebody who does know how to.
Yeah. So I think kind of pulling that back, the DVI process or the intake process, I think you're right. That needs to be the most documented and like procedure oriented part of the whole experience, right? I don't think you need a procedure on how to do a water pump or how to do a transmission service, even though I've written those up, right? Like I have a procedure, like how I want the transmission service done, right? Because a lot of guys, they'll drop it, put the filter on, put the pan on, drop it off the lift, fill it with fluid, and then pull it out. Like, no, I want you to fill it while it's the wheels are off the ground. I want you to run it through all the gears, right? While the tires are off the ground, and then once it's full, you can let off the lift and drive it out. Same with transmission replacements. I noticed a lot of guys would just throw the transmission in, fill it with fluid, drop it on the ground, start it up, and pull it out of the shop. Like, what are you doing? Like losing, like, what? Don't do that. Like, what do you mean? No, put it in reverse, put it in drive, make sure it goes through all the gears on the rack first, and then pull it out, right? And so once I realized like the disconnect between who I was hiring to do the job and how I was trained to do the job, I'm like, all right, I need to write this down. So that, so I think it's still important, but maybe not so detailed that I need to get into. I think with the experience of what the client is getting, I think is way more important. I think that's where a lot of tech turn owners like miss, because we're so invested in like what I was just talking about, making sure that job is done the way I was trained, which is the best way to do it or the right way to do it or your way to do it, whatever you want to call it, right? And we totally miss like how the customer feels. Like they don't care they do, but they don't care how the vehicle is fixed. All they care about is that it was fixed.
And was it fixed right and to a high quality standard, and can I trust your warranty or whatever you have going on? That is all I need. And call it blissful, like we're perfectly capable of just creating blissful ignorance in people.
Yeah,
that should be a good thing, because a car is a very complicated and dirty thing that needs to be fixed sometimes. And so if you're getting them involved and and this is a old fashioned example, but you crawl out from under the car and wipe your greasy hands off with a greasy towel and shake the customer's hand, you're bringing them probably further into the process than they wanted to be. But that's what you think of.
For most of them, yeah.
Greasy coveralls, greasy hands. Oh, hey, it'll be done soon. Go wait over there.
And then smell cigarette smoke.
Yeah. That's old fashioned, but you get the idea.
And you know what? It's really, really difficult though, is trying to meet all those different expectations, because some people want that, right? Like that's what they're brought up with. That's the shop that they want to go to. That was the shop their dad brought them to, right? So that's where they want to go. That's what they think it should be. And they go somewhere that's kind of cleaner, nicer, and modern. And they're like, what's going on around here? I'm just not, I don't feel comfortable here, right? And then you got people that are so concerned with the check engine light, right? Like the check engine light comes on and it's like, they're no longer going home. They're going to see who's open right now because the engine light's on. Then you have other ones you do the inspection on and you tell them, hey, the check engine light's on. Would you like me to look into it? And they get mad at you. Hey, that thing's been on for 6 months. What are you trying to sell me, right? You're like, how am I supposed to make everybody happy here?
With the process.
Yeah.
That's all. You just bludgeon customers over the head with process. And your service advisors have horrible experiences with their lives and everybody's happy. No.
And that's kind of the problem with a lot of these, well, what do you call them? Coaching processes or different aspects that they want you to, it's like they want you to do this thing no matter what. It's like there is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's like this is what you need to do no matter what, every single time. And I just don't know. It's really hard to buy into those kinds of processes because is so many shades of gray. And sometimes you do need to retain a customer with a little bit of a discount, or maybe they just do not want the inspection, but they want you to replace the air filter or do the brake job, right? And I've come to find I've had some really good clients that come in that spend money, right? But he does a lot of the stuff himself, and he's got some really nice cars. But he legitimately just comes in, he just wants to support the business, and so he just, hey, I want this particular brand of brakes put on my car. Will you do that? I'm like, yeah, but my process says that I need to have you come in and I need to do a DVI on it. And then it's the 300% rule. And I need to do, he's like, I don't want any of that. I want to give you $1,000 to put these brakes on my car. Will you do it? And it's like, well, I can't because my process says, right. And it's like, so like that in those situations, it's like, you got to bend the rules a little bit. And that's why it's so hard to say it's black or white.
No, I disagree.
Tell me why.
So there's a reason that those things exist for us, the mandatory DVI and 300% rule, and it is because of legal exposure.
True.
And it is our duty as the automotive professional to look over the car and deem it safe for the road. And if it is not, then tell the customer it's not. And from a business perspective, I see no harm in doing the absolute softest possible sell that you could do, but still follow the 300% rule on, stuff marked in yellow, put it that way.
Sure.
And the reason for doing it is because as a very picky customer, I've gone to shops and said, I want you to put this brand of brakes on my car, or I've customer supplied parts. I have shown up with racing brake pads for my track car and said, I want you to pad slap my racing brake pads on my car, and that's it. And they came back to me and said, your rotors are done. Are you sure you want us to pad slap your car? And it's like that kind of thing where, I don't really care if my money is green and I have a strong opinion. Like I would still appreciate the professional opinion. And if they truly don't, then they're not your customer because they're always going to believe that you're out to scam them. And I've had those kind of people.
Yeah.
I've had those kind of people. And yeah, I had somebody pull the car from our shop because the husband dropped it off. He approved a bunch of work. Then I sent the DVI accidentally to the wife's phone number. They were a previous customer of the previous business that occupied my space here. And so I had their contact information saved, but I didn't know who was who phone number wise. And I sent the DVI to the wife. And next thing I know, they show up and pull their car out because she thought our prices were extortionist and she had no clue how we were ever going to stay in business because we were ripping everybody off. Meanwhile, we had, 10 other cars in the shop that were all happy customers, but
yeah,
that, they never came back, and I don't blame them. And I hope they have their, $39.95 oil changes happily ever after somewhere else.
Yeah. There's always going to be one, no matter what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Can't
And
make everybody happy.
that specific story was the first time that had happened to me, and it kept me up for like 2 nights. And it's since happened another, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 times. But yeah, those people exist, and it is what it is, and I will sleep just fine.
Yeah.
I realized that for every one of those customers, I have 100 or more happy customers. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna care at all.
Yeah, it's just as time goes on and you start counting those and then wondering how many other potential lost sales go with that, right? It's tough to not think about it and not lose sleep over. I mean, we had a similar situation just last week with a quote, and it was the same thing. Told the wife, and she freaked out and found someone to do it $1,000 less. Okay,
Mhm.
well that sucks, but it's also great because I can take a look back and say, okay, well, can we do something with our pricing? Are we overpriced? Where are we at with it? Like, because sometimes you just do the increases, you do the increases, you do the increases, and you don't take a step back, and take a look like, okay, where are we at in the market share place, right? Because
Mm.
I don't really care what the guy down the street is charging. Like that doesn't really matter to me. But as a whole, I have, and as you're probably aware, you got to keep aware of the market share. Like, okay, where are we at as far as the market price, right? Because if you're at $300 an hour, you might start losing more sales, right? So there's definitely a cap you gotta watch out for.
You can't just go and say, okay, I'm $500 an hour now. Come and get it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'll give you
So
the best service ever.
yeah, I don't care if you're serving caviar with it. I don't want it. um, did you moved into a new building recently,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yep.
did you expand, or did you just move?
It was an expansion.
Okay, so you have
Yeah.
like a ton of space now, then, right?
Yeah, we're at just under 10,000 square feet and
Whoa!
9 bays.
Wow, yeah. And so I'm asking that because hearing about Lucas moving from 3 to 10 bays, and me now, I have one shop that's 9 bays and one shop that is 4, and they do last month the 9 bay shop did just under 100,000, which is
Ooh.
not enough.
Ooh. No.
But it is enough for 3 techs, which is what I have in there right now
Okay.
on 6 lifts. The 4 bay shop did 65,000 in our second month in business, and it's combined we did over 150 grand, and we made money across the board. Well, not including some big renovation and equipment purchases in the new shop, but
Right.
overall, I was satisfied with that. But my point is the big shop, you worry about the pricing and market share and competitors and the
Yes.
unhappy customers a lot more than with the
Yes.
small shop.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I guess my point is the small shop, and this is my model going forwards, is the small shop should be able to put out really, really strong numbers. You don't need a big space to put out strong numbers, and you only need as many cars as it takes to fill the bays every day. And if you're doing it with a higher average repair order, fewer cars but happy customers, I will take that. And it for me, that did mean kind of leveraging my skill set, which is more in the I want to run multiple locations, and I don't need to be hands on with every car, and I can't be, and it just means I'm moving ahead, but doing it with those smaller shops.
Yeah, that's exactly where I brought that sentiment up about following these strict procedures and these strict rules of operation, I guess you'd call it, right? And
Yeah,
the 300% rule, the 5 C's, the 4 C's, whatever you want to call them. We like to call them 5 C's because we like to add the confirmation at the end of that, right? I mean, I'm all about it. I mean, it's pivotal. You have to do that. Like you said, there's a lot of not just making sure you're capturing the cells and all that stuff, but there's a lot of moral responsibility that goes behind all that as well.
right.
It's just every once in a while you have someone come up and they're a big spender, right? And they just want what they want. And it's like, you know what? You're willing to spend money? That's okay. And that's only been enlightening for me in the last couple months here, because I'm looking at these different processes. You had mentioned cheap oil changes. Man, I'm against that. Like, I don't want that. Like, you come in, like you spend $200 and yeah, we'll put an oil change on there, but you're just going to pay me the oil and the filter. I got no problem doing that. But like, to market share a cheap oil change as a lost leader, I'm not about that. And it's just about 2 months ago, you know what? That actually kind of is starting to make a little bit of sense to me if I need car count. Like,
Right. Yep.
because one thing, the guys, they start getting unmotivated. You know, you get 6 or 7 bodies here, and you have a day that you don't have 15 cars in the bays. They start getting on their phone and they're like looking around. Man, I don't want to stand around all day, right? And so, but if you got oil changes coming in the door, it just keeps their mind busy, right? And even if you're losing, it's at least you're not losing your techs, because that's way more important than losing a couple of dollars on an oil change. So it's just thoughts that I've had, and I don't know. I'm completely 100% green in that aspect, and it's just, I mean, like I said, in the last 2 months has been something that I've been thinking about. And you see the other guys doing the processes, right? And you see these other things, and you start thinking, okay, so if they're doing it, there's some validity behind it, and what exactly is that? And instead of just like, no, I'm too good for that, you know, and it's like, well, wait a second, why is that working for them?
Yeah, and it is that, where do you want to discount for the sake of offering like a better value proposition to potentially good customers to get them in the door?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a painfully slow week last week, and my consideration was, okay, I take a lot of pride in diagnostic testing guarantee, which is if what we recommend as part of our diagnostic testing does not at least incrementally make the problem better, then you don't pay for it. And so I wanted to make a video that explained that, and then said for the month of November it's going to be half off. And that could still be a thing that I do, because the way I'm looking at it is, number one, I'll do the typical, okay, I'm going to make it half off of something that's more expensive than normal.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. There's always that game to play.
that's just a pricing manipulation that I don't feel is unethical. I just feel is a tactic that I can utilize.
Yeah. I mean,
And
Amazon does it and they get called out on it, but it's like Black Friday, right? It's like everybody knows what they're
Yep.
doing.
Yep. So I can do that. And what is normally right now $233, I can make $150 because my normal is actually $300, and now it's half off. So $150. So I lost $80 on an hour of labor, and then I will more than make it up with the amount of extra cars coming in if we are that slow. And so if I can fill the gaps, that's exactly how I would go about it. But I'm looking at that and thinking, I am basically saying this is an opportunity for you to at least figure out what the problem is on your check engine light that's been nagging you forever. The drivability problem on that car you parked in your driveway 6 months ago that you kind of gave up on. Get it in here. It's one of the best offers out there for guaranteed diagnostic testing from the best technicians in the region. We got this for you, and we're going to recommend exactly what you need to get this car roadworthy, happy, healthy, safe, reliable. And it's part of the package that we're doing the full DVI. And so that, I think, if I were to do something, that's what I've considered.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it kind of butts into the realm of free diagnostics, kind of, but
Half off.
so the one thing that we do is like so all our inspections are paid, right? So we have a $99 DVI. That's what it starts with, right? It comes in,
Mm-hmm.
you spend $99. We inspect the vehicle. We'll check the codes. You do the whole thing, right? And then if they move forward with the repairs, we recently started waiving that.
Yep.
Like, well, if you go with the repair, we'll just go ahead and call that good. If you decide it's too much for you to do, then you owe us $99. So
Yeah.
we're doing the same thing, because October and in fact September both were like extremely slow. So for November, we're looking at just offering the free inspection. Like we're just going to say, you know what, come in, we'll just do the free inspection. Get your vehicle in here. Let's see what it needs. We'll write you up everything it needs. And that way, kind of what you're talking about. Like, let's get it in here. Let's see what it needs before you just like let it sit in the driveway for the next 6 months.
Yeah, and I think the only delineation is, so we actually always have free inspections, and we charge for diagnostic testing, and we have various different types of testing. So if you tell me you have like a intermittent overheating issue or a vibration or some sort of, I don't know, weird noise or coolant leak or something like that, we'll throw some sort of testing on there. Coolant system pressure testing, oil leak. If it's like severe oil leaks, it'll be, cleaning and idling to see if we can identify the source of the leaks. If it's
Right.
some sort of, exotic noise or vibration, then there's an extended test drive product that we're adding on there. If it's anything electrical or drivability, you get what we just call level 1 or level 2 testing, depending on the magnitude and complexity of the issues. And that helps us a lot with the monetization of, I'm just going to look at it for you, quote unquote. The inspection that we have is purely a lift and a flashlight. And, it takes, depending on the condition of the car, somewhere between 15 and 40 minutes.
Right.
And I'm okay giving that away and we call it a confidence inspection. The point of it is we want you to leave here with confidence that you know everything you need to know about the safety and reliability of your car. And whether you're, giving the keys to your kid or your mom or whatever, you can be confident that you know what you need to know about its safety and reliability. And, whether you chose to do the work or not, you at least know about it.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
And then after that, if you did choose to do the work, we've, expertly advised you on what you need versus what you can defer versus the maintenance that'll make your car the happiest. And, we just had a very interesting car leave today. It's a 2000 Toyota Solara
Nice.
that had the worst paint I've ever seen on a car. It was cracked all the way around, not sun faded, but cracked just everywhere. And it had clearly been parked under a tree for 3 years or something like that. And it had 200,000 miles on it, 215,000 miles on it. And this guy brought it in and said, take your time. I don't need it back urgently at all, but I want to just make it safe for my mom to relearn how to drive, which I didn't ask, how that circumstance arose. But nevertheless, this guy's mom was relearning how to drive, and they were expecting, 1,000 miles a year on it. And they brought it in, and it had zero power steering fluid. The whole power steering system was just soaked in fluid. The pump was destroyed, and the brake booster and master cylinder were damaged, and the pedal went straight to the floor. We sold him $4,000 on that car, and he's a very happy customer. But there was more to the list that we just said, look, if you're driving 1,000 miles a year, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about the transmission fluid necessarily. You may think otherwise on that one. But
Well, no, I mean, it goes back to the adage of like, if you drove it in here, you don't really need anything, right? Like, and obviously in this case, it probably wasn't drivable because it needed brakes, it needed power steering. But like, that's the one thing about the inspections, right? And you write up these estimates, and I go through and see constantly $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 worth of estimate, like over and over and over. And it takes a long time for me anyway to like see those estimates and be like, man, it really feels like we're selling stuff that they don't need, right? Like, especially when you come from like just fixing what's broke, and you start adding in these processes and the DVI, and you're like, oh my god, why are you estimating these people $7,000 worth of maintenance on a 2000 Toyota Solara? Like, it doesn't need any of that stuff. It needs tires, it needs gas, and that's pretty much maybe engine oil every once in a while. Like those cars just go forever. So it's tough. It's tough when it's like, what does it actually need versus making sure that it's safe? But it goes back to the same thing I said about the two different people. Some people want not one drop of oil They don't want anything at all wrong with their car. And you have the other ones who are like, oh, the wheel bearing, don't worry about it. I only drive it 100 miles a year. Like I can manage it around my property with it. Like, it's like, whatever, man. And so that guy gets mad at you because you trying to upsell him, in quotes, all these other things. And the other lady gets mad at you because she went somewhere else and you didn't tell her that, she's got this minor power steering seep, so what's the right answer?
Sell it all. No.
But no, it's taking every vehicle and like and just being transparent about it, right? Like all you can do is just give them the facts. Like, here's the facts. This is what I found, and you make the decision. I'm not making it for you, but here's my opinion.
How many advisors do you have?
2,
And
3, including Leanne.
Okay, that was my next question. So, the 2 that you hired, have you done like personality tests on them, or do you have an idea generally of like the type of? Okay, so what were their personality types?
I don't remember the exact terminology of it. I'm not like super hip on that stuff, but we definitely found the pairings, and like we found the not aggressive, but like the more like me. Like Kevin has a very, very straightforward personality, and then Melissa, she's very more caretaking, more thinking, and more I don't know what the word for it is, but just it's definitely. But when you read it and you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that is you, and that's definitely you. So
yeah, I found that the successful. So I've one advisor who tested it. It was a DISC personality test, but they came up with a word to kind of describe the overall profile. And I had one that was a teacher, and I had one that was a socializer. And it totally fit them perfectly, each of them. And I would also say the teacher is quite a socializer. He's super chatty. Both these guys, if you get them going on any subject, they just won't stop. And then I look like a dick because I'm over here trying to like redirect the conversation to like work, because that's what we're here to do. But that's me and my personality being super task oriented and focused and direct and all that. But they both are loved by customers. And I think they have the skill set of adapting to understanding, a customer's desires for being upsold and how much they care about their car. And I think it does go a long way in terms of what I mentioned about, is this a super soft sell or not? Is this I'm going to do a high pressure. I got rid of everybody that did high pressure sales. That never worked for me. But, this person, if you emphasize the importance of a repair, they will do it. If you emphasize that importance to another person, they would take their keys and run away. And the advisors have to be aware of which is which. And yeah, they can still follow the process 100%, but they're adapting, I guess, the delivery of the process.
Well, it's really important just to find that out for themselves and for you too, right? Like one of the big kind of eye-opening moments when we did the personality test was as I'm fairly task oriented as well, right? So I'm like, we're here to work. I'm not here to socialize. And if you let me, I'll just put my head down and just do my thing all day, right? Like I have a list, right? And you probably have the same problem. Like you're just checking boxes off in your head of like what you need to do that day. And the last thing on your list is like, oh, why don't you go check in with so-and-so and see how their weekend was, right? Like that's not even on like the next page of like it was
Yep.
It's not on the back of the page. It's not on the next page. It's nowhere near on your list. So one of the things we noticed when we did it was, so Kevin, he's had the same personality I did. So when Melissa came on, we were both of us, when I come in, I'd direct something, or he would do the same thing as he's taking a car and very direct. This is what we're doing. This is the process over and over and over. And well, after about a week or so, she had come up to us and asked, and she was like, hey, so like, do we get to talk about anything else but work while we're here? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, what do you want to talk about? She's like, no, I just feel like it's not okay to socialize. I'm like, oh man, my bad. I missed that one, right? Because you can't just eliminate that. all together. So that was a pretty interesting concept where it was like, we're both here like hustling, like we're doing a thing, and we're both okay with that. But she was like, no, I just want to like have a 5-minute conversation about how my weekend was. It's like, yeah, you can absolutely do that. I'm sorry, right? Like it makes you feel kind of bad. And then you do the personality test. You're like, oh, I see why you're like the way you are.
And that was respectable of her to do that, because
Yes.
without that, she's either bitter and staying, or she's leaving, and neither of those options are good with somebody you brought on to succeed with your company.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
I would have never known, right?
yeah. I think I struggle with being approachable in that way, because it only seems like it comes up 20 minutes into a conversation where I've taken the time to suppress my desire to do something, to just talk with somebody about nothing. And it's a
Yes.
painful 20 minutes, but you get through it, and then all of a sudden they're comfortable enough to tell me what they really think. And it's usually very constructive, and we learn something, and we both come out of it better for the conversation. But man, I'm working hard to get there, and I probably don't do it.
Well, being
don't do it
7
enough.
feet tall doesn't make you very approachable either, but
People have said that to me my whole life.
I
I went
wonder
to
why.
so on Halloween, I dressed up as James Bond because I own an Aston Martin DBS, and I
Very
took
nice.
it to a car show, and it was a bring your kids trunk or treat kind of a thing at a car storage facility. And it's a super high end place, and they have Koenigsegg's and Pagani's, and I'm in it's the big money part of the area here. And I show up in what is a relatively cheap car compared to all of them, in a suit I haven't put on in 4 years. And I'm walking around just talking to people and whatnot, looking at all the cool cars. I had 3 people come up to me and ask me if I owned the place.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I guess I'm doing something right if I look like that. But
That's
no,
funny.
I don't have the probably $40 million needed to cover the insurance on this place.
They just assume, like the tall guy must be the owner. It's the
The
only
tall
thing that
guy
makes
in the
sense.
suit. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I feel like most business owners don't wear suits today. And there I was talking to a guy, and this guy, he rattled off, he owned something like 30 cars in the last 4 years. And he was like, oh yeah, and then I had this 2021 GT3 RS, and then I had this Rolls Royce Wraith, and then I had this Urus, and then I had this SF90, and then I had an F8, but I hated it compared to the SF90. And I'm like, and you would really like an 812. And I'm like, how many Ferraris from the last 3 years have you owned? And this is a guy who was in just like a white t-shirt and camo pants, and it turns out he owns multiple private security companies.
It's usually it too. Yeah.
And I was like, yep, all right, yep, okay, that all tracks.
It's like they say the difference between rich and wealthy, right? Like when you're rich, you want to show everybody. When you're wealthy, you try to hide it.
Yeah. And he parked his SF90 on the street instead of in the car show.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and I was like, yep, okay, I get it.
He's like, that's my going out car anyway. I don't really care about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it felt. That is absolutely how it felt. And it's a car worth 4 times what mine is worth.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
And I I washed mine before going. I'm not
They're
at that
like,
level
oh, look,
yet.
it's cute. He's got the older Aston.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Oh.
12 years old. Sorry. At least some people just go, wow, it's held up so well.
That's almost like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's an old car.
Like buying a Porsche Boxster. Like, oh, you got the poor man's Porsche.
Yep, there you go.
Aw.
Oh, it must be so fun to drive because it's so light and underpowered.
Man, shots fired, huh?
Whoops. Yeah, you had some interesting cars for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about those.
Yeah,
How did
I don't
how
remember
did-
which
how-
one.
You had a Lexus RX.
Oh, that thing's sweet.
How did you get that?
A good friend of mine, he actually owns the jiu-jitsu
all right.
gym here locals. His wife's car and we were doing a lot of service on it. She took the 300,000 miles on it, and then one day she calls me. She's trying to leave church. This thing won't move. So I go there, and the transmission's just, it's done. I mean, it's, you put it in gear, right, and it like revs up, and then it wants to catch, and the whole thing starts jumping around and it starts crunching and munching and all that. So I'm like, yeah, you're done. Like, that was an easy diagnosis, right? Like,
Yeah.
you need a transmission. Oh, I'm not doing that. So she's like, you want it? And I'm like, do I want it? Not really, no. She's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to have to pay to get it towed to my house. And she lives, you know, they live 20 minutes out of town. And she's like, man, I don't want to pay for a tow to just have it sit at my house. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm like, all right, I'll take it.
Wow.
So I came back with the trailer from the shop and just towed it down to the shop. Ended up one weekend, pulled it out and rebuilt the trans. That was actually a whole story in itself, because I bought a used one and they sent me the wrong model, because
Oh, no.
Lexus, the U140s, the U240s, they have different gear ratios that are inside. Anyway, so that was a whole debacle that I couldn't return the used one, and so I wasted a
Oh,
bunch of
no.
money. It just turned into anyway. So I ended up just rebuilding the stupid thing and put it in, and that's it. And it sits. I kind of put it around for a little bit. I'm like, maybe I'll at least get my transmission rebuild costs out of it, right? So I'm
Yeah,
like,
sure.
$3,000. Yeah, crickets.
Yeah.
$2,000. Nothing. So now I have it posted for $1,000. I'm like, just get it off my property, please. It'll drive away. And it's still sitting there. I think it's been at least 4 months. $1,000 for an 01 Lexus RX 300 with 300,000 good miles. I don't know how else to put that to make it sound better, but
Okay, so I last week bought a Ford Escape, a 2004 Ford Escape
that's a good one.
with 263,000 miles on it.
Oh, it's just broken in.
Just broken in. The thing is mint. I have multiple employees that want to buy it from me, and they brought it in. They towed it in because it started shaking and bucking on the wife driving it around running errands, and it turned out to be an ignition coil. And it was going to be the whole repair. We proposed spark plugs and one coil to start with. I said you should probably do 6, but you're going to at least need one.
Sure.
And it was like $900 to V6. And they said, nope, too much. You want to buy it? And I said, oh, well, it's in excellent condition, so sure, I'll buy it. And I proposed $200 plus my diagnostic fee, so it was going to be like $430. And they said, no, we want $400. And I fought them for a week over that $200. And then eventually he called me and he just said, look, I got 2 other offers from a radio station that would take it as a donation.
Wow.
Or the junkyard. And I want $400. I was like, well, that was a terrible negotiating strategy, but okay, fine. I'll give you $400.
Whatever, man.
Whatever. I'll give up the 200. And we fixed it. We got all the monitors set on it today. It's going to be one of our loaner cars.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a good testament. All of our loaner cars have extremely high mileage, and it's a great testament to maintenance.
Those freaking Ford Escapes, man. The only thing that every time I hear that is I think about replacing the damn alternator on them. Oh my God, what a freaking nightmare. It's like 7 hours to do an alternator on those things. Yeah. You haven't done an alternator on one of those? Oh,
no,
man.
I've never done an alternator. I've done an alternator on what car? I've done one alternator in my life. I think it was on my race car.
Yeah, no, it is miserable. And you know what really like will twist you when you're doing it? It's like there's plenty of space to get it out, and it sits between the back of the engine and the firewall.
Okay.
Or whatever we call there, and it just kind of. But the subframe, you can't get it out between the engine and the subframe, so you have to lower the whole subframe down. The whole engine cradle.
That's terrible. Wow.
It is very, very, very frustrating. I'm like, I'll
man.
get that out. Nope. There's just it books out for like 7 hours because you're supposed to like drop the whole engine cradle and all that crap down. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Ford, I hate you. So I never ever. It was a bright yellow Ford Escape too. It's like this was like 12 years ago, and it's still like so fresh in my mind. An alternator? Are you serious?
We had a starter on an X5 that was like that. No, it wasn't a starter. It was a crank position sensor. And all data screwed me on this one because it said 2 hours or something like that. And I led the customer to believe that we were going to be able to get his car done on a Friday afternoon.
Mm.
And I go to my tech at 3:30, and he's like neck deep in the bottom of the engine bay, upside down with his legs sticking up out of the engine bay. I'm like, what is going on here? And he's like, well, we're pretty much going to have to drop the trans to get to this. It's like in the bell housing. And we did not get the car out that day.
It didn't sound like it left that day. Long story short, he wasn't driving though. You might want to make a phone call, boss.
Yeah, that was one of those where you had the service procedure for slightly different variation of the car, and the VIN won't give you the right one. So is what it is, and you just eat it and move on. And
You learn from that one.
yeah,
Hey, I want to ask you on your loaner program. One thing I've thought about is adding loaners, but I also look at like the cost of just like doing Uber and just like giving
Yep.
clients like an Uber voucher to get where they need to go. Now, obviously, some people need a car to actually get around. They just don't need to just get home.
right.
But it brought up a really good. I met someone up when we were up in Alaska. Actually, we were at this bar at Chain of Hot Springs, and this guy was sitting across the bar, and he heard us talking automotive or something, and he ended up and just we're up in the middle of Alaska, and he's like, "Hey, I'm actually a technician in Iowa." I'm like, "What?" And so he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually looking at starting a program for shops where it's like Turo, but they will loan loaners to auto shops, right? So if you needed to get your customer a vehicle, instead of getting an Uber, you would just use like Turo. Remember Turo?
Yeah.
I think it's still around, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you can just rent them a car through the app, and then give them a car, so you don't have to worry about storing the vehicle or repairing it or all the insurance and documentation. I thought it was a pretty good idea. I'm like, you know what, that would probably be something. So I don't know if that's something you've looked into to get rid of the loaner program, or if it's working for you and ends up being sustainable.
It's working for me. I think that's what it comes down to is, I have the most money I have spent on one of my loaner cars is $3,000 purchase price. And they've needed some significant, repair and maintenance over time. We had a Subaru that needed a head gasket. We had a Pilot that needed a timing belt, water pump, oil pump job. So that was another,
Pretty minor stuff though.
priced out at like $4,000 or something like that. But my thinking is these things are so cheap once you've 300%ed yourself. They are really, really solid cars because they just work. They're simple. You don't buy a Land Rover for a loaner car, but I have exclusively, besides this Ford, I have exclusively Japanese and Korean loaner cars. They're all 10 plus years old, 200,000 miles, and we've just made them nice. Put new tires, all the maintenance, wiper blades, absolutely. Cleaned the interiors, made the exteriors look as nice as possible.
Yeah.
And we have there's a range, you could say, of condition of exterior. So as long as you kind of plan ahead and you've got the higher end discerning customer that wants to maintain appearances in the nicer cars, they all love it. If you have the opportunity to give somebody a car to borrow and it's free of charge to them, they're going to appreciate it, and they're going to say, oh, well, in that case, logistically, I can make the rest of those repairs work. And then we get more repairs out of them.
It's true. I don't think I've come across enough of the opposition for me personally, but I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? Like, it's just, you can't always be closed-minded about anything. So I've looked into different things, and
Yeah.
I think for me, I just look at the real negative part of it and have something like bad happen, like an accident or someone not return the car, or I just see that happening to me sooner rather than later, because that seems to be my going rate. Right, like in the first like 3 years of owning the business, I had a tech like total vehicle head-on collision, like.
Ouch.
So yeah, it's like I just think about the worst cut, and like for me, like having all these loaner cars and then having 3 or 4 of them out, it's like definitely one of them is going to come back in worse condition than it left.
Yeah.
But it's not always going to work that way.
Yeah. I think the one thing that really slapped me in the face was one time one of our loaners went out in the morning on a Friday, and we upsold the customer on work that was going to need to wait through the weekend. And he needed to get like his garage door opener and toll pass out of his car. And so he came back like right before closing, and his entire family was in the loaner car. Like his mom and his kid and his wife were all in the loaner car. And I saw that and I thought, man, I really, really have to make sure these things are safe.
Yeah.
That was what I thought. And that made me, I went full blank check on the loaner car. It's like, yep, anything they need, just do it. I don't really care.
Yes.
And we bring them in very regularly for inspections. That's more of a concern to me than losing one of them, because we have liability insurance, which it only covers, that, God forbid, something happening that we
Something
caused.
tragic. Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be covered by the customer's insurance, but the customer's insurance is supposed to cover damage, anything like that. And I've never had to make a claim, but I have had to, run a customer basically knocked a mirror off one of our cars, and he owned up to it. And I said, all right, I'm going to ding you for, $200, and we're going to get a new mirror and slap it on there. And, nobody really cares. And the car's down for a week, but
Yeah, that's minimal stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
But
And
it's the bigger ones, like losing a wheel or having them get in an accident, and something real tragic happens. It's like, man, the way and we're both in California, it's like they just like right up the behind with both of us with anything they can find to put the blame on who gave them that car, right? And they're like, oh,
mhm.
you own an auto shop? Wow, okay, we're really gonna find something now. It's like, oh, I don't even know if I like just the thought of that alone. I'm like, no, we're gonna go ahead and wait on loaner cars as long as possible.
Yeah. I think,
Not to scare you or anything.
no,
Those are the intrusive thoughts that I have in the middle of the night.
for me, some of it is, talk about blissful ignorance. Some of it's on myself, and it always has been. Of, if my car is fixed right by my own shop or by one of the shops I used to be a customer of, then I'm happy. And it wasn't until I felt, and I've talked about this a fair amount, the 3 Ds that I'm trying to avoid, of delay, deceit, and disappointment. If I pick up my car and it's not fixed, if I feel like the service advisor is lying to me, or if the original time expectations are far exceeded, those are the things that are going to make me find a new shop. And if we can do everything in our power to avoid those things, then I'm just going to keep going, and I'll be a happy customer, and I may be none the wiser to a bunch of sins going on behind the scenes. And that's true until something comes out. But that's where the risk of those, whether they're intentional sins or not, a wheel falling off the loaner car or whatever, you have whatever mitigation you possibly can to make sure that you'll survive those kind of situations. The one instance where I don't necessarily have a good answer, I don't know if I should even talk about it. I don't want to speak it into existence. But like, this is an area where I have a lot of exposure. I think I'll stop there.
We can talk about it when I stop recording.
Yeah. But yeah, I do, every mistake, we've made a lot of tuition payments in a short amount of time. I've also not been in business very long, and I could have made a lot more money had I just not opened the shop.
Yeah, that's there it is in a nutshell right there, right?
Yeah, but I love what I'm doing, and I think that's what makes this possible, is just the fact that I'm excited to continue to create happy customers, create careers, and fix cars. And like, I love cars probably a bit more than I should, and I think all of the interactions that I get to have on a daily basis around cars just makes my life really satisfying. And it, I
That's
think
awesome.
I'm in the right place for it.
And then since someone was nice enough to lose our first recording, so I got to ask you again, what's your goal? So we get down to the end of this recording here. What's your goals for the perceivable future that we can get on in the next year, and we can talk about what you've achieved?
So the long-term goal for Driven Auto Care is to sell the company for $1 billion. And what I believe I will have accomplished by doing so is I will have made a dent in changing the perception of automotive service away from delays, deceit, disappointment, the greasy guy, rubbing off his hand with a greasy rag and then being gruff and throwing a cigarette in your face. We are professional, we are high quality, and we don't delay, deceive, or disappoint. And as a result, we can create happy customers. We can be consistent with that image. And if we do it on a widespread enough level with the necessary business operating practices to assure that all of those things happen, we will be successful. And in the process, we will be able to change that perception. And
That's awesome.
so the original goal, which we'll see how naive it is, this is where we can check in a year. The original goal was to have every shop make enough money every year to buy another shop. And that works when you have the sort of smaller shop model that I do, where I am perfectly happy to buy out the retiring tech turned shop owner. And this second shop I bought, I paid very little money for the business, but it came with good customers. It came with a fair amount of tools and equipment in the shop already, a phone number that started ringing from day one. And I was able to expand to that second location. So, a year ago when we talked, I was 5 months in business. Now I'm
Yep.
a year and 5 months in business with 2 shops. And it's been a hairy year, to say the least. But to be here, and that is actually quite a good full circle, summation of the fact that we talked a year ago. I was wrought with stress and mistakes and problems and issues, and all of those have been resolved, and now I have new bigger problems and issues and mistakes and stress, and every new shop and every manager put in place and all of that just will continue to build on that for me. But it is in this pursuit of changing the perception of the industry, which I think pretty much all of our listeners get. And
Yes.
And
if
so
they don't, they will.
if they don't, they will. And I like how in this conversation we've still had plenty of divergent opinions that can get us to what is the right way to do things. Is it discounting diag? Is it cheap oil change? Like, if you have a big shop and you need car count, what's it going to take to convince a customer that you're valuable despite the fact that you're discounting?
But I think for both of us, our vision is to create the ultimate client experience, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like all those nuances are fine. You can disagree about them, and you don't have to do one thing or another. One will sink one shop, and one will sink the other shop, right? Like, you have to find what works for you and what you're doing, how you're growing, and what size. Like, there's so many different, ways to skin a cat, I guess is what they call it, right?
Yep.
But I think the main thing here, the main takeaway is, like, our vision's the same though, like creating a better industry for all of us, and getting rid of that old automotive industry. What do you call it? The stigma. There you go.
Yeah.
See that we're on the same page here. We got that
Yeah.
at the same damn time. That was pretty good.
Gotta love the delays of remote podcast recording. We think we're having a live conversation, but I don't.
It's pretty close, huh?
Yeah, what episode number are you at now?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't keep track.
I think when I checked right before that, I had 141, but half of mine were the short form, me yelling at the microphone for 5 minutes, and now I haven't published a podcast in 8 months or so, something like that, because I wasn't seeing any traction. But I think
it's very very hard. It's very I don't know what you call it, but it's tough because we're just sitting here talking to each other, right? And even if you look at the listener trends or whatever, it's impossible to know who's listening or what's going on, right? So it's almost defeatist in a sense, where you're giving out really good information, right? Like, this is very valuable information that's free to anyone listening, and it doesn't feel like anybody's listening or doing anything with, like, why am I doing it, right? So, but then it's like, you know what? Just keep doing it, right? Because I learn more about having this conversation with you than I can in a coaching program over 6 months,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
Well, except I stole most of this stuff from a coaching program I've been taking over the past 6 months.
yeah, me as well. But for those listening, you just got 6 months worth of free coaching, so you're welcome.
I want to get paid for this. I don't know.
Well, if you're interested in listening any more about my guest here, Driven is your podcast.
Yeah, it's still up. It's the We Are Driven podcast.
We Are Driven, that's right.
Yeah, the We Are Driven podcast. And then if you're in the Bay Area right now, San Francisco Bay Area, Driven Auto Care is if you want your experience at a repair shop, which you don't because you probably are affiliated with one already if you're listening to this, but let's say you're not, and you want an experience like Jimmy's shop, but somewhere else, I got you.
I like that. Or if you have a family member or friend that's driving through California, which is possible, and you get stuck up in the Bay Area, there you go.
2 convenient locations for you.
There it is. I love it. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on. This is great. Again, I'm gonna keep looking for that episode. I'm gonna talk to David and Lucas when we're in SEMA next week, and I'm gonna see if I can track it down because that was a good one too. But and that would make more sense. Like if we did that one after this one, it wouldn't matter because everyone would be like, oh, I get it now. I see what he's saying.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd be interested to hear how far I've come.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, both of us.
So, well, cool, man. Appreciate your time.